Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. As long as it's all good, we want to welcome you to the House That Happens, sponsored by Shuey's Bar and Grill, the only place to be in suburban Etobicoke. Voted 4 times the best dive bar in the GTA. We expect it to be the best dive bar in Ontario because at the House, Shuey's, we keep the vibe alive. Hi, my name is Cruz.
And I'm Andrew Milani. And Cruz, are you ready for an all Taylor Swift version of the show?
If we didn't bring up Taylor Swift, someone would say that we live underneath a rock. So I'm going to say one thing about this whole Taylor Swift thing. I thought it was the phoniest cheering I've ever seen in my life. The guy gets a date, he walks into the room, and she's jumping and chest pumping, which looks like a big black security guard. Wherever she goes, she needs a big black security guard. But you're going to tell me this woman who has 4 million Swiftie fans suddenly knows about 3rd and 12?
Well, do you know the conspiracy theory about this, right?
Not quite. Give it to me.
So she's a Pennsylvania girl.
Yes, got that.
So the rumor is that like she's waiting for Kansas City and Philly to meet again in the Super Bowl. Then she's going to dump him.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? I just think that the NFL's involved because I've heard a few people saying you have to say this. If you have a product as large as the NFL, the monolith that it is, anything that adds on to this just makes the product huge. Mm-hmm. Please tell everybody out there that Travis Kelce's jerseys went up 400%. However, does anyone realize that money goes to the team, don't go to Travis Kelce?
Well, a little bit, doesn't it?
I think it's 1% or something because, when you notice on commercials, guys never, ever have the name of a team on it. They might have a color because that belongs to...
Well, you need permission,
Yeah, and they don't usually give it because that's their product. So I'm saying if it's 1 million more fans that come out to watch football, that can't be a bad thing.
Absolutely not. I know the Taylor Swift subreddits were filled with... girls trying to help each other out with the rules of football, trying to understand it.
I heard they put on one of her sites at Football 101. This is a first down.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a kickoff. This is, you know what? And I've been watching football 50 plus years. Anyone that comes and watches a game and learns about it, like my wife, she's a bit of a fan. I get it. But this whole Taylor Swift thing is, to me, there's a lot of... there's no substance. I'm not finding any substance in it.
It's fluff. We know that.
I thought better.
I just think it's funny.
Oh, I think it's very funny too. It kind of reminds me on a minor level because she was never that star. Who is the chick that Tony Romo went out with for 10 minutes?
Jessica Simpson.
Jessica Simpson bought him the boat. Did all of that stuff.
That's my quarterback. We got that out of it, which is probably the greatest contribution to society we got from it.
Point well taken. But in any event, if any of the Swifties are out there listening, give us a shout out just to let us know how much you're ingratiating yourself to this new thing called football. Agreed?
Sure.
Can I give another personal shout out right now, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course.
Like to shout out to my son. Would have been his 37th birthday. Deep breath. I'm going to cheer for the Vikings today.
Wow.
I don't do that often.
You notoriously hate the Vikings and everyone else in the black and blue division besides the Lions.
I think he's going to reach down from the sky when I put on my Viking shirt today and say, Dad, you're a fraud. God bless you, son, wherever you are. We miss you immensely. And your team is 0-3, and the Detroit Lions are 3-1. Yes, the world has got weird. And speaking of dedications, I think there's a little something you'd like to bring up.
There's a few things I'd like to bring up. So, what were you thinking?
We have an issue with one of the Calgary Flame.
Yes. Sad story
Very
in
sad.
the world of hockey. Chris Snow, he had been dealing with ALS for a couple of years now, I believe. Yeah. And he passed away this past week I believe it was yesterday. He passed away due to complications with that. He was on life support, donated his organs.
Very cool.
Yeah, so, it's a nice little silver lining there, but obviously a tragic story, and thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Just a sad story in the world of hockey.
House That Happens wants to give a huge shout out because anytime you lose loved ones, it's a little bit of an emotional drag down. I can tell you that personally. But to him and his family, hopefully you're going to get through it. To a good man. He lived a great life. One day, hopefully we can find a way to kill some of these awful diseases. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tragic. There's no other way to spin it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So young. He was 42 years old, I believe.
Yeah, very young. Way before his time. I'd like to do another. We didn't talk about this last time before we get into the heart of our show, but one of the things that I found interesting is that they're deciding on putting body cams on.
Yes.
Maybe they should put them on NFL players, considering your Mac Jones situation, but that's another story, okay?
But in Ontario, soccer referees will start to wear body cams now, which I can definitely see why. Soccer referees, I mean, in my opinion, they're the ones with the biggest egos, but they also take the most abuse.
Agreed.
So, I mean, in a way, you can argue that the problem is kind of twofold. But, I mean, some of the treatment that they get, I mean, like the law had to step in at a certain point, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And, maybe this will take away the controversies when the yellow and red cards fly.
I don't think so.
No?
No. So that's soccer culture is just like,
okay.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like people are going to get upset and whatever. But I mean, like in terms of just like the abuse that the referees take.
Oh, way too much at times. Way. And
there's a lot of refs that don't do themselves any favors.
Agreed.
I see this at at Humber firsthand. Like some of the refs, just like their ego is bigger than the size of the field.
And at the house that happens, we have.
Not saying that they deserve the abuse, but.
Okay, everything good comes after but, right? in any event, and I can't laugh very hard, but in any event, when you think about the abuse that the referees take, here at the house that happens, we like to watch games where we don't even know there's a referee there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way we'd like to look at things. And in speaking of refereeing and umpire, everybody's favorite Major League Baseball manager no longer has a job.
Everyone's favorite.
Angel Hernandez. What's the guy?
Angel What?
Just announced this morning that he is not. I don't know. It could be erroneous, but I was looking at the threads this morning, and they said he got dismissed by his union.
Wow. Well, I mean, there'd been some things leading up to this. I mean, he had tried to sue the league, and he lost.
And they still kept his job. When do you sue your employer and keep your job?
I know, right?
They don't even do that at McDonald's. Come on, stop it.
McDonald's is a great place to work for,
I'm not
apparently,
saying it isn't, but I mean, like, if you sued McDonald's, your sorry ass would be shipped out of town.
Oh, sure. And McDonald's is as evil as any other corporation in this country.
I think, though, that the interesting part, and we're going to get to a lot of baseball later, but I think it came to a head when this week when Bryce Harper blew a gasket. The only good thing about it is the kid getting the helmet, but then I heard there's some in-fan father bullshit about that too. But the bottom line, when you seen the reaction that Harper had on a check swing, and Engel told him to check the tape. The tape's going to prove how bad this umpire made the call. And I think Bryce Harper, I'm not saying he's a hothead, but he's
a hothead.
Okay,
I'll call him that if you won't.
He's a charged up player, and he's one of the reasons that nobody wants to play Philadelphia in the playoffs. But we'll get to that in a bit. The bottom line is he didn't run down that third baseline because this wasn't his first issue with Engel. I think it's a built-up thing, and I don't think he should have been thrown. And I think that umpires should give him the time of day at least. Now, Harper's definitely going to get fined. I haven't heard yet if he is, because you can't charge an umpire and do that in the course of a game.
No, regardless. I mean the umpires union is definitely going to want some action there.
Well, I think he lost his job.
No, but I mean, like it's not just about Angel Hernandez. It's about like the umpire
situation and the circumstance.
In general.
They're going to definitely, and I do. He will get fined. You know what I mean? And there's one more thing that I think that we should bring up here along the way.
A couple more things.
Okay, well, I'll just bring up this one first. I'm going to say that everybody knows, and we don't bring it up enough on this show, I'm a golf fanatic. So I'm just going to let everybody know, since I've been off work, I haven't missed a hole of the Ryder Cup, which is one of my opinion, one of the great sporting events that comes around biannually. I believe it is biannually. I think if you've never watched the Ryder Cup, you should just turn it on. My reaction that my wife had to the Ryder Cup was, is this a football game going on? Because it's the team format.
Yeah.
And the dressing up in the crowd, the chants, the verbal abuse to players I heard is next level. I seen Sam Burns turn around and mouth the crowd. I've seen Sam Burns play until he's got to this level of a golfer, and he's very good, but he's not a guy that's known as a hothead.
No.
And if he's starting to yell back at the crowd, mothers, girlfriends, sisters, they're all fair game in that Ryder Cup.
Oh, yeah. And once you pit like anyone against America, like if you're not America, you got one reaction. That's fuck America.
Oh, that was
We've said it before on this show.
Yes, that's how it works. And you know what? I got to give just a couple seconds on this. One of the things you got to do is the characters that show up for the Ryder Cup are off the charts because it's in Rome.
Yep.
There was gladiators walking around.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. They had NASA was there, like a whole bunch of guys in spacesuits for America. They had 2 hot dogs running around with the Statue of Liberty. It's just off the chart stuff.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. And it adds to the game because of the tension. But I will say this. I'm very disappointed in the quality of the golf. I'm going to go home and watch it now. I won there. The Americans were losing as of this morning 9.5 to 5.5, I believe, and they only need 14 points to win, and there's 12 match play matches. So as long as 4 Brits win today, they will take back the Ryder Cup, something that the Americans have not won in Europe in 30 years.
30 years, holy smokes!
I haven't won since 1993. Is the last time the Americans have won in Europe. I have this theory. And a lot of analysts, experts will say this. Because that hate for America is so great, those guys bond together. They get together and share, okay? When the Americans get together, I don't think it's a bonding in that type of situation because I remember years past when Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods were on the same team. Apparently, they didn't even talk to each other the whole tournament.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me knowing what we know about Phil.
Exactly, and a few other things. So, like, when you have that massive camaraderie against a bunch of still guys that are sometimes there by themselves, which is why the Americans do a lot better on today on the match play because they're maybe not worrying about the team thing. And that disrupts it. But there was a couple of interesting things that happened in the Ryder Cup that, from a political, emotional standard, that were different. First of all, Patrick Cantlay was not wearing his cap, something about a money situation. So that caused a little bit of grief around. So the fans were riding this guy. You got to figure everybody on the golf course is wearing a baseball cap except for one guy.
Yeah, with your number one sponsor on there.
No, but this is all American. So it's all God bless America, Europe. Everything's designed. They're wearing a uniform. They're wearing a uniform.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And he doesn't wear the hat because he doesn't think it's going to be a contribution. Just before I left, I seen...
that's weird.
Well, Colin Morikawa, who's one of my favorite golfers, he was leading off today in the second twosome. He wasn't wearing his hat today. So I'm wondering if this is becoming a trickle effect. So we'll find about this later.
Some... division in that dressing room, maybe
that's why it's not getting along. I don't know. I just think it's kind of odd. But the other thing that went on is there was a little bit of gamemanship going on about one of the caddies got into Rory McIlroy's line. Rory lost a hole in the match on the last hole, and Rory McIlroy blew a gasket. Ooh. They had the guy in the parking lot leaving the event. He was. You'll go check on YouTube or any social media thing. You'll see Rory, and Rory's not one to be that way.
No, not at all.
So that just lets you know the heightened tensions, the passion, the desire to want to win is so great that these guys show characteristics that they don't normally show walking around on the tour.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of gamesmanship, have you heard about what happened in the New York Rangers, New York Islanders preseason game this week?
Wait a second. Remind me.
So already we have Lou Lamoriello hiding his preseason game lineup from the other team before the game.
That's Lou.
And then basically like the Rangers are like, oh, he's not showing us? Okay, we're not showing them.
It's just, we're going to have a show about this, but the divide between the old school and the new school is getting wider by the day. And I'm not, I am the
But that's just also Lou being Lou.
Of course, but but I mean, he pushes that old school envelope more than anybody. I think it's kind of childish he did it.
I think it's childish, the no facial hair rule that he has.
There you go. Okay.
That and I think I've told you the story about where he's like, I want an untappable phone line when he was working for the Leafs.
Yep.
And the people were like, that doesn't exist. So they just put like a red phone cord. He's like, okay.
Okay, I'm good
He was
that.
none the wiser.
I just think that what has happened is social mores, social justice engineering, all this stuff permeates everything in society. And I think that gives ammunition for some of the other younger players that look at things differently. Hence the reason we don't have Babcock around anymore, which is the most ridiculous thing one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of in my life in sports. But
him getting fired, or the story in general about what he did?
The whole thing about Babcock's insane.
Yeah.
Like we'll never see him on a bench again, and he doesn't deserve to be. But when you see the old school, I'm finding that some of the old school things are correct, and some of the new school things are messy. So I don't know where we're going to get with this down the road. Like, it's going to have to even out somewhere sometime. I don't know. And all sports, not just not because we're talking about some of the things that have gone on in the NFL. Your buddy Mac Jones and the crotch shots, and whether this old school, new school, stuff like that. But I hope it doesn't affect the play on the field.
No. Keeping with hockey, Andrei Vasilevsky out for the next, what were they saying, 2 months now with back surgery?
I think that's a conservative estimate because we don't know what the operation was yet.
Did you hear what John Cooper said?
No.
It was a very lawyer answer where he's like, we're not concerned about the long-term, whatever effects of this for now.
For now.
It's like, ooh.
A goaltender with a back problem. Let's go back to Roberto Luongo. Let's go back to John Van Briesbroek, I think it was.
He was a good goalie.
Yeah, he was another guy, ended up with some back issues. I'm just hoping that Vasilevsky gets a 100% recovery, comes back and play, because he is part of that top competition levels that we like to talk about on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I mean, that puts Tampa in an immediate hole to start the season. Like, obviously, they're going to have to look through the waiver wire. Which kind of makes me worried about the Leafs, because you're like, ooh, Martin Jones. All of a sudden, Martin Jones is looking pretty good.
Why don't they trade him then? But we'll get to that. Why don't they trade him? Because if he goes on waivers, doesn't mean that somebody else could put a waiver claim in just to jack Tampa Bay around.
But you also need the roster space.
We'll see. We'll see. I guess they're going to have it because they're going to be able to take away from their salary cap, which is probably going to give Tampa Bay some kind of break like they had a couple years ago with Kucherov. Mm-hmm. They're going to play that game.
But the problem is, though, like, eventually Vasilevsky, they're expecting him to be back this season, so you can't exactly break the bank on his replacement.
I agree.
So people are saying Dan Vladar on Calgary is like, oh, why don't they just trade for him? And the problem there is twofold. One, the cap hit's going to be a squeeze after Vasilevsky comes back. Yep. And two, Tampa's got nothing to trade.
Exactly.
So I don't see that trade working out. Like, Calgary's going to be like, okay, we want, like, a third-round pick, let's say, and Tampa's like, well, we don't got one.
Right. Well, you know what's even weirder? I wonder if this is because John Cooper's a great coach. Let's cut to the chase.
100%. Maybe the best coach in the league.
Do you think he going to rally? Is there some way going to rally the troops? Because in my opinion, like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when you're talking about a back, and some people said he might have even had one of those back fusion. Disc fusion things. Nobody's saying, like, Cooper, did he tell you exactly the operation? Nobody's saying exactly what the procedure was.
Yeah.
If you're talking about something like fusing a disc, I mean, Tiger Woods was out 9 months doing that kind of stuff. I mean, a little bit different swinging a club and being a goalie, but your lower back is what it's all about, I believe.
Oh, for sure. That's, your base, your core, it's all there. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Tampa Bay, it's obviously they're going to try to rally the troops, but I mean, you're losing a goalie that's, like, been your workhorse, your stud for the last, like, what, now 7 years?
Maybe the best goaltender that we've seen in the league in the last few years. 2 Stanley Cup wins, 3 final appearances in a row.
Conn Smythe, Vezina.
Conn Smythe, the whole 9 yards. You know what I'm saying?
So I don't know. Like, Tampa Bay's in quite the predicament here. Like, they got to be careful not to get behind the 8 ball here early on.
I hope they do. That's better chances for the Habs to make the playoffs because we keep Habs on the tabs.
I was gonna say it's gonna be better for like Buffalo or someone or like Ottawa. Even though, have you been following? Okay, so there's a few restricted free agents still around in hockey.
There's about 8 of them that have significance.
There's 4 left.
Oh, there are only 4?
Yeah. So
the other
3 of them I would say are really significant. There's 2 with the Ducks, and it sounds like Drysdale and Zegras are just not close to being signed at all.
None. No progress. Which is that all week.
Like, I mean, Pat Verbeek. Like, I know, like, you were like a hard-nosed player. You're probably taking negotiations the same way.
I agree.
You don't want to get off on the wrong foot here with your young studs.
Okay.
You need to field the team.
So they're in a position like I don't see they can even sniff the playoffs this year.
Anaheim?
Yeah.
No, but you want to build up that program, and this is a bad way to get the season started.
Okay, so we're back to where we started on a couple of shows, and I don't think it can be.
And they're not in a cap crunch either.
Oh, agreed. But I'm gonna bring this up about that. This is the flat cap of the 2023 summer has affected all of these because they don't know what they want to pay him. I've been hearing on a number of shows, a number of experts.
I think it's term that's the big issue. I think Zegras wants long term, and I think Anaheim wants to give him like something short.
I would give him something shorter because I'm not big in like it's good for your salary cap, but you're giving these guys money before they deserve it, kind of. They've still got potential. They've had good years. They look good, but have they done good?
Zegras, okay, he's had that, like, I know he's only had, like, what, one good season, let's just say, but I mean...
He's 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you sign him long-term, that could be a steal later on.
Well, that's the gamble, and I think that Anaheim being Disney are
No,
probably...
not anymore.
No,
they haven't been Disney in, like 17 years.
Isn't it who owns them now?
Samuelis.
Oh, yeah. Any event, these people aren't known for throwing their money around either.
No.
So we're going to have to wait and see how that works out.
And then Shane Pinto, still a restricted free agent in Ottawa. That's a pure cap crunch issue.
100%.
So I think they're trying to find a guy to ship out. I don't know who that's going to be, but...
I think that'll be settled by the end of the week. Because the season starts in 10 days, so I think they're going to settle that in 10 days. But you know what I've also heard? Other teams are sniffing around. If you don't want him, that's what I.
No, but Ottawa's not moving him. I heard that's not an option.
That'd be insane.
Yeah.
That would just be absolutely insane.
But Joseph is making the most of his opportunity because he's getting those third line minutes now.
Yes, very much so. Speaking of third line minutes and things that drive me crazy, I want to be on record here as letting everybody know that I do not hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, can we get that straight? I hate the Boston Bruins. I hate the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's get where my hate goes.
You hate the Flyers? I don't think you've ever expressed that.
I'll get around to that. They've just been so lousy, I don't have to beat on them. Okay, when they get good, I'll get back to my Philly hate. That's not an issue.
So in 5 years.
Okay, yeah, we'll get back to hating them. They just fell back in the hate line because they haven't been doing anything to threaten me. But what I'm getting at about the Toronto Maple Leafs is, and I am a Hab fan, and I hear it does go on in Montreal a little bit too, but... What's that kid's name that was your first round?
Easton Cowan.
Come on, people. Can you let the kid just come on? He ain't Gordie Howe. He's not Bobby Orr. I hope he makes the team. He's a good-looking player.
Not this year, he won't make the team.
I know, Mr. Milano, you're going to say, well, they have something to talk about on the sports shows. Great. Then they could talk about more like, I like the conversations more like, where's John Tavares going to play? When are they going to sign Nylander? The goaltending situation.
We've already talked to Nylander stuff. That's okay,
but I'm saying if that stuff all comes up, we're not going to talk about it today, but all that stuff of discussion has some merit to me. What doesn't have any merit is some kid from he played in London, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Great, but don't you think it's a little hypocritical with all this talk that I've heard you and Serge go on about your Habs prospects?
Well, we guys are already playing. They're drafted. Logan Mailloux. I built a bandwagon.
What do you mean? This guy's playing preseason. He's drafted. What's your point?
My point is he's not Gordie Howe.
No one says he's Gordie Howe.
Have you watched any of the shows this week?
Who said he's Gordie Howe?
I don't want to bring up names because I'm not a fan of them, but I'm going to make fun of them in a second. I just think I'm on there in Toronto. I heard it mentioned in one of the columns in the newspaper. I've heard 3 of the talking heads on a big show in Toronto talk about it. I heard those guys on, what is it, on TSN, NHL Today? Or NHL whatever.
That's hockey?
That's hockey. They brought the guy up. I went, come on, really? Let the kid play. We're not going to see him this year, and I hope he has a great career.
No, he's going to go back to London.
Of course, but why do we have the hype like this? I think the biggest hype should be on Logan Mailloux. We should talk about him. He looked good. Did you see him out there?
No.
He's looked good.
I don't watch much preseason.
I didn't either, but I had my setup, I can just leave the screen on in the background, and I just wonder what's going on. He's a big puck-moving boy.
Is it looking like he's going to make the team out of camp?
Oh, yeah. I think he's definitely going to make the team because I think they should go this way. I think Owen Beck should get an 8-gamer too. Beck's looked good out there.
Spur in the first year of that contract?
Well, I'll take my chances because what if he makes the team in his third line penalty killer? He's got size. He doesn't look at a place out there, but that's neither here nor there. We shouldn't be talking about this. We're going to have our hockey preview coming up sometime this week, I do believe, Mr. Milani, correct?
Sometime coming up soon.
Well, we're going to make it just for that. So I got one.
So just, go ahead. I mean, this is not, the end of the line here, but a daily faceoff does not project Mailloux on the Habs roster.
Why not? Is it still because he's looking
Don't explain, but they just...
I think it's just the publicity.
They have the 6 defensemen as Matheson, Savard, Jordan Harris, Kovacevic, Arbor Jacki, and Kaden Gooley.
I think that the guy with the funny name, I think Logan Matthews is going to replace him. I think it's just politics is the reason. He's reinstated.
Okay.
He's reinstated, so I mean, why not let him play? He's big, strong, and fast. We'll have to see there. But before we finish with hockey, okay, I watch a lot of sports shows just to see what everybody's saying. And you have a theme about how your show comes on. For example, our producer here, Mr. Milani, when you hit our show and you hear the music, it sounds like something vibrant. It sounds like these guys are ready to talk sports. Can I shout out to the people of Overdrive? Why do you play 16-year-old girl songs to start your show?
Don't they usually start off with something with like the Stones or like?
No, I think someone said something because this week 3 times in a row they started off. My granddaughter knew the song. I said, "What?"
Interesting.
I thought.
I know they played like some like the
the
Weekend or whatever sometimes, but like I don't know.
mind the Weekend, but I'm saying they really play like they should start maybe because it was Taylor Swift.
Although they do play, maybe that's why.
Maybe
but
that's
why.
why.
They played. What's that there's like a Harry Styles song.
Oh yeah,
they
that
played
song.
there
Yeah,
before.
because that's popular. I
Yeah.
get that. But I like when I hear that. Finally, the other day they started with Two Pistols by the Tragically Hip. Like when you hear music like that, the Rolling
Yeah, they play a lot
Stones
of hip.
riff and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That song because it's a sports show. I don't think that.
That's on their producer, I would say.
Fire his ass. Fire his ass. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I did? I always see what they're going to say at the beginning. When I hear that music, I just fast forward and say, I'll watch this show another time. So if you want to have more eyes on your show, don't play music that makes me puke. How's that sound?
Fair enough. Also, we'd be remiss if we missed the Toronto Argonauts. Unfortunately, they lost on Friday night to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Winnipeg, sending them back to 12-2. So they will not have the opportunity to break the all-time wins record this season. Still 12-2 on the season, excuse me. With if they win out, they're still 16-2, which would tie the record.
Can I have my take on that?
Absolutely.
I think it was the smartest move they made to sit Kelly. Because they're going to have Winnipeg.
Oh, he didn't play.
He did not start. That's the
interesting.
reason. Yeah. And as soon as I heard he was not starting the game, and he did a great pre-show on the field gimmick with the team that was just hilarious. If you get a chance, it's got to be out there. Him doing dance routines, getting his team together, it was just off the charts. It was so much fun, which football people do. But my take on it is this. The number one team they're going to have to worry about to win the Grey Cup is the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, the Winnipeg Bombers. And I'm saying,
Lions have the same record as the Bombers.
But I think the Winnipeg will end up in the end. I think what they did to sit them is, first of all, those guys don't get any extra cracks at them. Maybe a few wrinkles that they're developing for the playoffs they're not going to show.
Some more gamesmanship.
You got it. And I think that winning a record like that is irrelevant to the Toronto Argonauts. I think their end goal is to repeat as Grey Cup champions. So I think the fact that they sacked Kelly, I thought it was a smart move. I really did. And guess what? Toronto gave Winnipeg a battle. It wasn't like Winnipeg walked in and kicked their ass. That was a tight game till the end.
Yeah, just a 10-point game.
Yeah, and it was even closer than that towards the end. So I want to give a big shout out to the Argos for protecting their number one interest. And number two, already looking down the road for what could be better for a team as opposed to putting them out there to get extra shots taken at a team that they may face down the road.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And so let's move on to NBA. So some breaking news on the house that happens. We have a trade to announce.
Really?
The Blazers flipped Drew Holiday to Boston.
Oh, that's damn. Damn.
That's the worst news of the day by far.
100%. You knew Drew Holiday was not staying in Portland. That was going to be, something was going on there. There was no reason. The way that Portland made the trade, we'll get to Lillard in a second. Yeah. The reason that they made this trade is because they got Scoop Jackson, a number-round pick, and they're going to develop him as a guard. I think, forget their off-guard's name. We'll do it in our NBA preview. So those two guys are going to be running show. Okay, so what they got to do is they don't have veterans around. They're building from the ground up. I think that DeAndre Ayton is going to end up be the steal of this trade. You heard it here first in the house that happened. I mean, the abuse and shit that he was taking in Phoenix. Someone says he's a lazy player. Someone says he didn't get along with the coach. Well, I'm going to tell you this much. If you got a player of his caliber and you come to camp and you haven't talked to your freaking coach since the end of the season, that's just that doesn't make
red flag
huge. And now he's out of town, so that's the way it is. I want to say this now, and I'm going to say it now, and I want to be loud. Here at the House That Happens, we're going to talk about who we think is the 10 best players in the NBA. I'm going to say right now, and I said it last year, I still think that Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, is the best player in the NBA. He was banged up in those playoffs. He didn't want to admit it, but it's come out now because he's got some work on him and stuff like that. But to bring Damian Lillard in with the Greek Freak, I'm putting them as the front runner to win the NBA championship in the spring of 2024.
That's a wombo combo right there.
Oh, I'm telling you. I will admit this. They gave up Drew Holiday, and they gave up a guy that I have hated since he's been gone to Duke, and that's Grayson Allen. This guy is a prick. He's a bad apple. He's the dirtiest schmuck going. I want him on my team.
Yep.
He's one of those guys. He's a glue guy. When Milwaukee won the championship, he did all the dirty work. So now that Portland has got him, I believe, or did he go to Phoenix? One of the two.
Let me pull up the trade quickly.
But in any event, I'm going to say that this guy's his stock is going to rise because people weren't really paying attention because it was the Milwaukee show with Drew Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton.
So Grayson Allen, you're saying?
Yeah.
He went to the Phoenix.
Yeah, that's because he's going to protect Booker, Durant, and anybody does any stuff, he'll be in there to do it. He's a big, strong boy who plays great defense and he can shoot, but he could be the steal in this. This could be like if it's a Phoenix-Milwaukee final, I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be fun.
The rematch. That would be a lot of fun. I'm thinking it's going to go there.
And I mean, you could argue Phoenix and the Bucks both got better in this trade.
Oh, yeah.
Because Phoenix getting Yusuf Nurkic in this trade, he's no slouch himself, right?
Yes. Oh, no. I think it's down the road. It's just going to be how these players adapt to their new environment quicker to move the team forward. But I don't think anybody lost in this trade. I want to just say one thing. Is this a harbinger for things to come? Because Jimmy Butler went on and he was pissed. Listen, Jimmy Butler, here's the deal. He got a better deal going to Milwaukee. I think he has a better chance of winning a championship going to Milwaukee than he has going to Miami.
Well, Jimmy Butler's little rant, whatever you want to call it, had a little bit more to do with tampering, I thought, though.
Yeah, I did too. So who says they're tampering? It's off season. The number one team.
Well, I mean, these guys all talk. So, I mean, if he's saying that there's tampering involved, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Okay, so let's just talk to some of the biggest basketball talking heads in America. Stephen A. Smith, Wojnarowski, who else? All these guys.
Shams.
Yeah, all these guys. Toronto was the number one destination for Damian Lillard. I heard
they were a close second,
They were the front runners. The bottom line is, and I want to thank Masai for this, considering that Lillard is 34 years old, they had to give up 3 first-round picks, Anobi, and another starter.
Screw that.
And Anobi's still only 24, 25 people. Like, everybody wants an Anobi on their team. Scotty Burns, I heard, was off limit, and then I heard that Portland wasn't warm enough for
Pascal.
Because Siakam was on the front of that trade, and they didn't want him. They wanted somebody else. So I'm saying, Masai, the word was 24 hours before the trade, Toronto was the talk of Twitter, internet, that the imminent trade is probably going to be another Masai move to bring Lillard to Toronto. And Lillard wasn't apropos to coming to Toronto because it's a city he'd be hanging out with Drake, doing beats and shit. So that would have been cool. But I'm thankful. Don't you agree? I'm glad Masai. I love Lillard. I absolutely love Lillard. But when he's going to come to town and play with who?
Well, yeah, I know, right?
So that just didn't die. But I'm glad that Masai kicked the tires. But in the end, it was too much of a sacrifice for it set our team back, especially at his age. But good luck, Lillard. I think you're one of the best players in the league. I love how he carries himself. I think it's a great combo with the Greek Freak. Good luck in Milwaukee. But as a Raptor guy, I still want to kick your ass.
Yep. And lastly, before we hop into baseball, shout out to the Japan Grand Prix Formula One, Max Verstappen.
My
winning.
favorite enemy. Or no, bad guy.
Red Bull capturing constructors for the first time since 2014. Second time. First time back-to-back since 2014.
But this is also one of the earliest clinches, isn't it, in the history of...
with 6 races left to go. And then Max can clinch the driver's title next weekend. And not even in the race. I think in the sprint he can win it.
That's just a phenomenal thing. I seen something amazing this week. PTI is my show of choice. Shout out to Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon. But at the end of the show, they have a little rundown.
Yep.
Max was on the rundown.
Hey.
I think he's 2026. I think it was his birthday this week. Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, Max. But the way they described Max, I couldn't be happier. They did not say he was a CUNT, but they said this guy's like next level, whatever, attitude. But however, they championed his accolades. and what he has done, because in the history of Formula One, he's going for records that Schumacher records and all those guys.
Schumacher, Hamilton, of course.
Hamilton, all of those guys there. And they think it's an interesting thing because, and it's true, they had Hamilton, who was a huge personality, and now they got Max. So what is happening is the Formula One, being as inclusive as it normally is perceived, has risen up to some of the common folks actually knew who Hamilton is. Now they know who Max is because everybody hates a bad guy, right? Congratulations, Max. We at the House That Happens. I'm ordering my shirt soon. I'm not the biggest fan, but God, I love a villain who does it the way that you do. You know what I mean?
And I mean, a shout out to McLaren as well. I mean, they've been rising stars.
Yes, they have.
They could be, I don't know about next season, but I wonder if they put in like one serious try at it before the regulation changes in 2025. They could be serious contenders to compete for the title that year.
If you watch Drive to Survive, one of the things that interests me was McLaren's backdoor, how they were building their team car, engineers, drivers, that whole, like they built it like you'd build a hockey team or something, but the way that they built it up, because thank God you were the one that introduced me to all this, and now the results are here. The results.
Yeah, after a really weak opening to the season.
Oh, awful. And then they're there. Like, their drivers are both in top 5 now, aren't they? Or top 7? I think both of their drivers have moved up in the standings.
Let's see.
But very good for them. And it's good for the sport.
So Norris is 7th and Piastri's 9th.
Yeah,
but then McLaren, they're quickly moving up. They're 5th in constructors. They're going to make a play at beating Aston Martin, who is the opposite. They had a phenomenal start. Now their car's just falling off a cliff.
Well,
yeah,
you know what it
which
is?
they kind of expected would happen because they're kind of in the middle of a move to like a new facility. So you just don't want that downward trajectory to continue. And then there's Ferrari, who, you know, if you're not feeling great about yourself, you know, you're on suicide watch. That's your team now.
Well, there you go. I got a couple other minor things that I thought were interesting. One of them being is, I don't know if you remember who A.J. Brzezinski is.
Of course.
He was on Overdrive the other day talking about how people make the playoffs, what's going on. And you know what the first thing he said was? Hey, guys, it's not hockey season yet. Because they had an opening soliloquy where they discussed the aforementioned McCowan and on and on. And I wanted to hear.
He clearly doesn't understand how Canada works.
Oh, he does. He said, I know it's Toronto. This is 365 days a year. But he's going, baseball playoffs are starting. Football season's in full swing. We got the Ryder Cup this week. And he goes, and you guys open the show with bad music and hockey?
But I mean, like, let's be real. If the Jays were actually impressing people this year, if this was like 2015 vibes, different story. Got you
very much. Can I do one thing, though? I will shout out to this. Brian Hayes is starting to grow on me, bro.
I know you've mentioned.
He's starting to grow on me. He has some takes that I still say he's the polite of the bland, polite, cranky Canadiana. But he has come out with some takes. I'm finding that he's getting a little bit more aggressive with his comments about the Leaf teams and the Toronto teams in general. Like, sometimes they handle them with kid gloves. Like, you know, some of the situations, like nobody, because they got to see these guys every day.
Sure.
They're around and all that. And sometimes.
Well, they're not really around because they're usually just in the studio.
But he's getting on more of the other shows. I like the fact that he's not afraid to tell the truth. That's what I'm liking. A lot of times, I mean, you know, O-Dog's going to say whatever because he's O-Dog. Great. Glad you're there. And Hayes is basically the moderator or whatever. But it's good to see that he's not afraid to say some things about the teams that should be put out there. Like when we sit around the bar and talk, or a million other podcasts out there that we talk about things. It gets more real than some of these guys who have to cater to the players that they see every day. So good shout out to you, Mr. Hayes. You're making me watch the show a little bit more than it used to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there we go. And, I mean, speaking of baseball, let's just get right into it. The Jays backdoor their way into the postseason.
Okay.
First of all, you might have expected that to be followed with an applause, but
no. Okay. We are gaining a bit of a following, Mr. Milani, and I think that maybe our good work has got there. And all you guys that I'm talking to right now, BOH, you're number one. That are out there who see me and start giving me the diss. Let's get one thing straight. I did say that the Toronto Blue Jays would not make the All-Star game, would not make the playoffs at the All-Star break. And I also said that Baltimore would come back to the pack. So in your picking of things, we don't always totally correct on where we get it, but I was just taking the facts at the time. Have to have huge respect for Baltimore and their pitching staff, which held together with those young bats to win 100 games, which is congratulations to them. Okay, you know what I mean?
101 wins so far for the Orioles.
What's that?
101 wins.
Yes, and that's unbelievable. And the other thing I wanted to say is that when I did say the Toronto Blue Jays weren't going to make the playoffs, it was a show later on, and I want to thank you, John. You did back me up in this. I said if the Toronto Blue Jays did make the playoffs, they would come in through the back door. How did the Toronto Blue Jays make the playoffs?
Through the back door.
They went in through the. But you know what, Guy? It doesn't matter. They're here now. Let's just change the whole. Now we're going to say we're thinking the ultimate would be a Philadelphia-Toronto World Series. That's what I'm thinking about the best. But how do you think the team looks going into the playoffs?
The silence should say everything there, but I mean, just shaky. I don't feel confident.
I don't either. And I'm really going back to the fact that one of my pet peeves has always been they don't have a steady lineup. No. You know what I mean? They don't have a steady lineup. Every day it changes. Muirfield can't get off the bench lately. What's up with that?
Well, he hasn't been hitting.
Well, that's
been a problem.
Okay, then a month ago he was one of our best hitters. Like I think they set him too long because you got to move guy in. Now I will give this credit. Mr. Biggio has been a revelation in the last 6 weeks for this team.
Oh, fantastic!
We have to keep him in the lineup somewhere, but I think that affects your defense when you don't have a consistent guy at second base. You don't have a consistent guy in place in the field. You don't have a consistent guy at first base. I think Vladdy. I'm going to say it here first. I don't see Vladdy Guerrero playing on this team in 2 years. If you want my honest opinion, I hate to say that, but I see Vladdy's just, maybe he's a little bit injured, maybe he's not, but I mean, there's a little bit of an attitude problem there, and people have questioned exactly what's going on in the dugout for the Toronto Blue Jays anyway, which is not a good thing to be talking about when you're going into the playoffs.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you're going to have to go up against a team like either in Minnesota or in Tampa Bay where, I mean, those guys can pitch.
Here's the thing, and you know at the beginning of the baseball season, I championed this. The Toronto Blue Jays are the only team in the major leagues that had 4 starters start 30 games, okay? Their ace is nowhere to be found, okay? So what I'm saying is that in these series now, they have...
Which ace are you talking about? Gosman?
No.
Or Manoah, okay.
Manoah, no.
They're, okay, our supposed ace.
Our supposed ace, okay. Now imagine if he just played a normal season, we'd make the playoffs. I was arguing with guys last night. Well, if the Blue Jays ran the bases better, we wouldn't have been in this position. Just basic fundamental baseball things that we failed at. However,
Manoah stewarded a bunch of games when he played.
Thank you. We know that.
We could have been in contention for 100 wins.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm not saying that. That's to me, that's kind of like the gimme got lost. But I mean, in a short series now, let's talk about this. We got the second best ERA in baseball. We've had 4 guys that started 30 games. There's no team in the majors that had 3 guys to pitch 30 games. I think this pitching 200 innings, and everybody congratulates you. You know how I'm old school in that. Good job, Bassett. But we guys put out there with the first 3 games, we can have Gosman, Bassett, and Berrios. You look around the major leagues right now, who's got 3 starters? Baltimore's 3 don't... statistic-wise, aren't as good as our top 3.
No.
Atlanta's kind of sort of there, but Friedman's hurt again, so we don't even. Is he going to be in the playoffs or not? The Dodgers are supposed to be a front runner. They don't even have 3 guys that started 25 games. So I'm saying if the pitching and defense is the game, Toronto could be there, even though I do believe our defense is suspect.
It's the hitting, though, on the Jays that's been more suspect, though. That's the problem. It's the other side of that coin.
Okay, so can we average it out over a season? Now, let's get back to some of the things I said early. What would Chapman hit? Player of the month in May.
Yep.
240. I said that if Kiermaier hit 260, I'd be shocked. He hit 260. Biggest disappointment is Varsho on all levels. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be our power guy.
I mean, Vladdy, you can argue, is the biggest disappointment as well, but for obviously different reasons. But
the main reason is he's not hitting 300. He's a 300 hitter. However,
and also he didn't even come close to 30 home runs.
He hit 25.
That's
how many RBIs? 25 and almost 100 RBIs. Any guy in the league had 25 home runs and almost 100 RBIs would be celebrating their season. The reason it's
if you watch some of those at bats, it's like,
does he need glasses?
He needs something. Maybe like a
Couple of
sports
his swings
psychologist. I don't know, something,
yesterday
man.
was so bad that I could not even think.
That's been the story of the season. Some ugly swings from Vladdy this year, man.
With one of the best swings in baseball, and he's taking those hacks.
Like it'll be like 3 inches off the plate, and like he's like reaching and swinging for it. It's awful.
When one hand leaves the other hand, and the bat goes,
you're in trouble.
You're in huge, massive trouble. And however, I'm going to have some sleepers here. First of all, I believe that the Blue Jays can make a run with their pitching. I hope they organize the bullpen, because one of the things that I said earlier also, and I'm still questioning it, is I did not think that Romano would be our number one closer by this time of the year. And the way that he's been leaking oil coming down the month, and they brought out Hicks yesterday, and I thought that was a great time for him to show his stuff, and he gets raked. You know?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the Blue Jays now? Okay, now we're playing in the playoffs. You got to hope that the starters, and another number that I said was huge is quality starts. Minnesota and Toronto have brought that to fruition, thank God, because I think that's what gets you in the playoffs. However, what are we going to do with the bullpen? I think that we should be leaning on 4 guys, basically, and that's Swanson, Hicks, Cabrera, and Romano. But I'm not saying that Romano should be the number one guy running out to close the show when he's got a fingernail issue or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also kind of a dangerous thing to change something like that at the last minute, where these guys are such creatures of habit.
Okay, so that if he goes out there and he gets knocked, we don't see him again. Look at his last 3 starts.
But then you risk destroying his confidence there, though.
Well, he
Don't you
told
think?
us it's a finger thing. If you tell us you can hold on to the ball and throw a pitch, great. He can't throw one of that sinker because of the fingernail.
Because of the fingernail, yeah.
Everybody can hit a fastball, and his fastball is not 95. He's got a sneaky fastball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when we start the playoffs, before we talk about the other teams, so it's tomorrow. It's Tuesday night. The game's starting. Mr. Milani, what is the Toronto Blue Jays lineup? Who's playing first? Vladdy. Who's playing second? Okay, that's okay. I think Bichette should be, but we'll keep him at short.
He's our shortstop. I mean, probably Merrifield would be our second baseman, because like Schneider's production has just gone off a cliff.
Okay, they caught up to him. We got that. Okay, what about Biggio? Where do we put him?
I would probably put him.
I'd put him in right
field.
No, I'd put him in right field because he's got as good as arm as Varsho.
Then where do you put Springer?
Springer.
DH?
Oh, yes. No, we need Brandon Belt as our DH. We need that veteran guy who's got a little bit of hits. His at-bats look better this week. I think we need him in the lineup for stability, experience, World Series champion, all that other
So you
nonsense.
got to put Biggio in left then.
Got to put Biggio in left, and I think that
Kiermaier center field, Kirk catcher, Chapman third.
It's got to be it. So that means that Varsho doesn't get off the bench, and isn't he one of our defensive specialists?
You got to hit.
That's why Biggio's got to be in the lineup. He's one of my most consistent players in the last 6 weeks, which I never thought I would say.
What was my line the last few weeks? That defense is only like, what, less than 10% of baseball?
It better be at least if that 10% blows it, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm just going to let you know that.
Well, my point is that you need hitting, really. Like, your guys got to hit first.
Well, that's a big question. Can they come alive? Like, if you got to do averages over a period of time, if the Blue Jays can just come up with some average hitting for this playoff, because most of the people do not want to play the Toronto Blue Jays.
I get that, because like everyone's worried that like, when are they finally going to pop off? But I mean, the way the season's been going, I don't know if that's going to be the case.
They should be gone. They could be gone after 2 games. But let's just say something.
That's my fear, especially if they run into. I mean, if either of those teams with some of the pitching that they have. Yikes.
I have a funny feeling that I don't know what's going to go on in this Tampa Bay Toronto game today, but I think there's going to be some serious gamesmanship going on, which seems to be the theory of this show. Because first of all, they're going to probably have to play each other on Tuesday.
Well, unless the Jays lose today and Houston wins, then the Jays go into Minnesota.
Okay, so here's the deal. Do you really want to go into Minnesota with that pitching?
Do you want to go into Tampa with that pitching?
They've been doing very well against Tampa Bay of late, and I'm of the belief let's go get Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay don't have 3 starters. They're going to do that bullshit with the bullpen.
Yeah, but he might be out in 2.
We'll never know, but what if those guys are?
If they have Eflin and Glasnow.
Okay, and who's after that?
But to my point, you only need 2 wins in the first round.
Okay, so Gausman out pitches him, and it's 1-1 going into Game 3.
Well, if he doesn't outpitch him.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with I'm on the Toronto bandwagon here now, people. So understand, I want the Blue Jays to go to the World Series, and I want them to play Philadelphia. But the bottom line is, I think it's wide open. I really believe that it's wide open in the American League. Like, who is the team?
I completely agree. But, I mean, given the Blue Jays' track record in the playoffs last few seasons, when was the last time the Jays won a postseason game? Remind me.
Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson.
Yep, 2016.
There you go.
Vlad and the boys, how many? They've been to the playoffs. It's been 4 playoff games. How many wins? 0. So we got swept against Tampa 3 years ago, and we got swept by Seattle last year.
Yes. Hold on a second. I'm doing this. Oh, sorry. I was going to say somebody's been reminding me of my fantasy football team, I bet you, because I just got a phone call, but that's neither here nor there. I think that we can beat any team, and I think the team that you should be most worried about in the American League, in my opinion, is going to be the Houston Astros because they...
you're finally coming around on Houston.
Only because they have the experience in the short series, they're going to go ahead. So, like, if Houston beats Baltimore, would you really be surprised?
Oh, absolutely not.
Now, I hate Baltimore, by the way. Like, that's one of the teams I've hated forever. So, if they get knocked, I don't care. I respect them tremendously. I think one of the smartest things they did in this rebuild thing, and it should be out to every team, is the same manager is there since the beginning. Yep. He's been there now for 5 seasons. He was there for the 100 lost seasons. He was the one that brought them along. There's a great thing to be said about continuity. Mm-hmm. And what happened to our team? We got rid of the babysitter, brought in a drinking buddy, and where are we at?
I mean, we got another guy who's on the hot seat by the looks of it, or at least if you ask the fans, he should be on the hot seat.
He ain't going nowhere. He's going
I tend to agree, but I mean, we've brought this up before. Don Mattingly is right beside him.
I heard that Mattingly. You know what I heard someone say, and I thought this was ridiculous? They should hit better because of Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly.
What does that mean?
He's not the hitting coach. I mean, he's an advisor and he's looking around, but I mean, maybe we need a new hitting coach. I just think the approach of some of these players is brutal. I think it gets back to the fact that we were always a first pitch. For the season we were such a first pitch swing team.
Eating fastballs for breakfast,
and
that
all
kind
that.
of thing.
And then now they're just screwing us around with all kinds of stuff, and people aren't adjusting. Chapman Exhibit A. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, going into next season, like I think they have to completely rethink their hitting strategy. And I mean, like they got to really tighten up the base running. Oh, those are the 2 biggest things I want to see cleaned up for next season.
Fundamental baseball that you have blown games on has blown my mind. So let's
Little League shit.
Exactly. That's what makes me crazy. So let's just saying we can't really make predictions right now because it's not final. But if I had my way right now, I do believe that the ALCS will include the Houston Astros against who? Our Texas is going to make that comeback. Here's a team that went up and down. However, remember, they were in first place for over 111 days in a row.
But their bullpen kind of let them down. And
their starting pitching has been skeptical.
Oh, there you go, even. Because, like, we know this from years past. I mean, people have really figured this out. Like, that your bullpen is, like, really what kind of, like, wins you and loses you playoff games.
100%. So we're going to go there. That's the problem. Is Bautista going to come back for Baltimore?
I don't know, but like I mean, I would say Houston going to the championship series. That's a good bet. They've made it, 6 years in a row now.
I'm saying they could do it again. Will they end up against Baltimore?
I
think if they're the third wild card, then if they win the first round, I think the second round they play Baltimore.
It depends. So as it stands now, if they win their wild card series, they would play Baltimore. But if they pass Toronto today, then they'd be on track to play Texas.
Oh, okay. I just got a fantasy football update. I don't know if I should accept it or not. Quickly, should I take Ayuk and put him in the lineup instead of Scantling Valdez for Kansas City? Just got a call. That's why sports is live right now. I got a call, and I got 20
I would heavily consider it.
Would you?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick look, though. I have to do it by 1 o'clock. I better take a quick look because I don't want to do this till afterwards. And this is a shout-out to Kevin Pick. I couldn't answer the phone because I was doing this broadcast, but you got me nervous.
And also, so I guess we could just get into it. The National League, so both leagues now, the 12 teams making the playoffs are set. Chicago Cubs missing out at the end of the day.
That's very unfortunate, but what happened to them? Their pitching failed them, and they had some fundamental baseball errors, just like Toronto did. Or is that a case of a team coming on so hard and then running out of gas.
I don't know, because they were always kind of in the hunt.
Early in the year, they were terrible. Up to the All-Star break, they didn't
yeah,
get
but they
playoffs
were
and
always
stuff.
like within like a couple games of Milwaukee for first in their division, right?
I don't think that Milwaukee with their pitching, I'm going, I don't know. But I think when it comes to the ALCS, I hope it ends up being Atlanta and Philadelphia.
NLCS.
I mean, yeah, NLCS. I think they can match up if the way that the what goes, because Philadelphia is the first wild card. So if they win the first round, they'll go play the Dodgers. And I tell you what, the Dodgers do not want to play Philadelphia.
Yes, they would play the Dodgers. Yeah, if they
100%.
won. Yeah.
So the Dodgers can be had. So now it'll be Philadelphia in Atlanta. I'm going to flip a coin on that. I don't know what to say. I'm going to be a fence sitter because I'm scared. But I do believe that Atlanta is the team. But historically speaking,
Even historically speaking with that franchise, they've had all sorts of great regular seasons, and team of the 90s, what did they come out with at one World Series?
They have one. They won a couple of years ago.
Yes.
So is that their one for the 10s, or the 20s, like the 2020s?
I mean, I tend to think that this group should win at least another one or two.
Okay.
But you never know. Baseball playoffs are just so unpredictable.
I don't think they have a really they do, but they don't have a go-to guy in the closing situation. Like the Dodgers bullpen's been looking a little better of late. Not that that's anything spectacular, but I think what these guys do is they hit so well that they're front runners.
Oh yeah, we should also mention Miami Marlins making the playoffs in a full 162 games for the first time since 2003.
God bless the Marlins, and Jeter left town.
And they almost got screwed by the Mets, that whole tarp situation.
Yes,
oh, my
that's
God,
insane.
embarrassing.
Like, what's going on there?
Another reason to hate on the Mets.
There you go. I'm really, they're a great Cinderella, but I don't know how far they're going to go. They got a couple of those starters that
It's
are big.
lining up that they'd play Philly, so.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Philly, do you know that Philly's had the best record in baseball since June 1st?
Really?
Best record in baseball since June 1st, because they had a horrendous start. Their April, I think they were 1.9 games out of under 500 in May.
Actually, so a little bit of a correction. So if it works out that Milwaukee wins their wild card series, Philly would end up playing Atlanta in the division series.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because
the third division winner gets the 3 seed, and then the top wild card would get the 4 seed, right? So they would play Atlanta, who's the 1 seed.
Okay, so who would play Atlanta?
I'm saying if the top seeds both win.
So they did get Atlanta right in the next series, right? In the
DS.
Oh, that should be interesting. I'm calling for Philadelphia all the way, and thank God that maybe Bryce Harper is the reason that we got rid of that terrible umpire, so to speak.
Let's get right into that. Jay, your buddy got fired. What do you got to say about that? Producer Jay.
Oh, yeah. So, Jay, are you listening?
He's listening.
He's your favorite guy. I heard it was reported. I think it's 99% sure, but one of the things just before you came in here this morning, I seen it on the thread that he's will no longer be employed. Like, first of all, the battles that he's had, like we talked about earlier, that's insane. Like, why should we know an umpire's name?
Yeah, I mean, the NHL kind of has a couple problems with that, too, with
every sport, except for football, which I don't think they treat their referees as good as anybody else, if you want my honest opinion.
No, they don't.
They should just do better for a sport that big, the monolith they are, the money that they have. Just makes me go, really? But
so I should say, I don't think this is real news,
No?
actually. So I'm searching online. I don't see anyone talking about it.
it was on a Twitter thread that they said reports being he will not play he will not be umpiring during the playoffs, and rumor has it. That's why I say it's maybe not 100%, but they said the rumor is he's not being backed by the Baseball Umpires Union Association. They're not backing him anymore. That's the word. So we'll see now. If he's not done, I don't think he's going to get a assignment during the playoffs.
No.
I'd be surprised if he did, don't you?
I would be too. And also, should mention with going back to the wild card races, there's actually still a chance for Houston to get the division. There's a couple, not many scenarios, but there's a couple where they can sneak in and beat Texas.
Texas has to lose. Houston has to win.
Yeah.
And then that's all there is to it?
Probably.
I thought that Texas had the tiebreaker.
Let's see. So where are the scenarios here? So Texas has to. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so basically, yeah. If they and also somehow the Jays factor in this.
If the Jays win or lose, because the
Yeah.
position that they're in.
So the scenarios that get Houston the division are Texas loss, Houston win, Jays win, or actually it doesn't matter. Yeah, so as long as Houston wins and Texas loses,
Then they're there.
then Houston gets the division.
Yep. That's a long shot. And if they do, that even going to make them more secure because they get freaking more games at that park. Minute Maid, is it called? I forget.
I think they changed the name.
Whatever it's called. But
They used to
anyways,
have that horrible hill in center field.
Oh, yeah. You know,
But they got the train.
I'm hearing that the problem with Houston is that their home record is brutal. So that may affect them. So it doesn't matter where they play.
Wonder why
home or
that
away.
is.
I don't know. Just some teams have been like that. Just the same as Toronto's. Remember my 600 on the road, 500 on the 600 at home, 500 on the road nonsense. It worked for most teams, not quite for Toronto, even though we did get in. So my call is, let's just call it round by round. It was going to go. We know in the first round, I think that Toronto plays Minnesota or Tampa Bay, they're going to win. I think if Houston plays either one of those teams, they're going to win. So what it's going to be is that whoever the fourth team is going to play Baltimore, which I think is going to be Houston, and that means that Toronto would go on to play Texas. Toronto can beat Texas, regardless of that 4-game sweep that we had. That was an anomaly of things.
Texas is just as up and down as we are.
There you go. So I think that our pitching would get us over the hump with
You'd hope.
Oh, I think it should, even though Texas can swing the ball. Big shout out to our former Trevor Simeon, who I do believe should be
Marcus Simeon.
Marcus Simeon, yes. I'm on this bandwagon right now, whether you like it or not. I do believe that Shohei Ohtani should not be the MVP this year.
Oh, you changed your mind.
100%.
Seager?
Yeah, it has to be Seager or Simeon. He's had a great season.
Simeon for MVP.
He's right up there. Look at his numbers; they're ridiculous. Add in his defense, his contribution to the team. He has to be considered. He'll win. He'll get bonus money from his contract.
To be honest, I wouldn't even have him as a top 3.
Who else you got ahead of him?
Diaz, Tampa Bay.
Oh, he's a DH.
No, first base.
No, okay, he plays first base. He's been doing a lot of DHing later, and he's fat. No, I'd take Simeon over him. I would anyways. I just think that he's contributed more to the team. However, you got to give Tampa Bay credit because they're in there for the 6 years in a row or whatever it is.
99 wins, or 98 wins,
90,
rather.
which you can't sneeze at. But I'm going to go to the same school of thought that I hear a lot of people saying. That type of pitching does not win in the playoffs. Got to have a horse. They got 2, you said. That's after the third game. We get one of their starters, and we're good. Just say this much. I don't want to bash Chris Bassett. Something about that guy. I heard him on doing an interview the other day, and I'm even more sketchy about the guy. Great numbers, the 200 innings, great control.
Only complete game on our staff.
Yeah, and not only that, he is. What I'm finding, I don't think he has the type of moxie that I want in a playoff game. Has he ever had a playoff start? I think one with the Mets, right?
Probably. I'm going to pull that up quickly.
But he makes me nervous. Barrios is Barrios. You know what I'm saying? So Kikuchi won't get a start.
So he's got Bassett's got 3 starts in his career, 2 with Oakland, 1 with the Mets.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about back in the day that when Oakland got in there.
Well, only 3 years ago, not that long ago.
And then Oakland's fallen off the cliff ever since.
Oh, big time.
What was his record in the 3 games?
1-2.
With an ERA of?
Oh, I closed that, but
I think his ERA was over 4. Which is not his thing. Because I think he gets rattled. In a big situation, he gets rattled. We're losing the game. Barrios gets a little excited out there, but he doesn't get rattled. Gosman, you can't tell if he's losing 5-0 or winning.
Yeah, his ERA is 4.2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because the pressure of the playoffs, the guy doesn't, And
his first playoff start was really good. 7 innings, just 1 earned run.
Everything went just according to plan. Even him talking about, I came to Toronto. I didn't get enough time to ingratiate myself with the city. I can't wait till next year I'll become more involved with everything in the city. And then I'm going to tell him, you're full of shit. We got Gosman telling you where you get cinnamon buns. You got Kiermaier on a biking around Toronto, just loving it. And I think,
even though he might leave for the Yankees, apparently.
Who's that?
Kiermaier.
Don't we have him for more than 1 year?
No, it's a 1-year deal.
Ooh, good 1-year deal. We lose him Yankees. I'm not worried about it. I don't care. We lose him or Chapman. We'll find somebody else to get in there.
Yeah, Chapman. I don't want to overpay for him, which people are saying you'd have
Suggesting just for his defense, if we keep him, if we get a friendly contract with him, I'll keep him. But
I don't think he's going to go for a friendly contract.
Okay, so then we're going to have to go back to your theory, Mr. Milani, where we're not going to care because it's only 10% of the game anyway, right?
Yeah, I want a guy who can hit.
What's that?
I want a guy who can hit.
Hey, Guriel, how you doing for Arizona? Should we give them a big shout-out?
Oh, they made the playoffs, too.
Yes, they did. And who would have told you at the beginning of the season, like, we didn't even have Arizona or Miami on the radar.
No.
I've got it in the book back here where we predicted. We both had the Mets.
Yes.
We both had the Mets. I think that you had one of us had a St. Louis.
You had St. Louis. I was not high on St. Louis.
I was high on St. Louis, too. I remember that.
Who did I have? Probably like Padres or Giants I would have had in there.
I don't think I had the Padres. I think maybe making a wild card, but that just goes to show you in this day and age, money isn't everything. And okay, so let's go over to the National League for a second. I'm just going to say this. I think that's going to be more exciting baseball because I think the rivalries are a little bit more intense for starters. And you got stars that want to be stars. You know what I mean? Like Harper wants to be a star. Freeman wants to be a star. Betts is a star. Are anyone forgetting that sometimes stars are made in the playoffs? So let's go to Arizona and that group of kids. Rookie of the year.
Yep.
With Corbin, what's his name? Whatever.
Corbin Carroll.
He's going to make Rookie of the Year. They got.
They have a serious Cy Young contender too.
What's his name? Galen or whatever. I forget his name. But anyway, we know what he's talking about. I don't think he's going to win it now. I think that it's going to go to Strider because he's going to win 20 games.
Zach Gallen. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Gallen. Yeah, he's a great pitcher. And they got three guys, but they got three guys in the bullpen.
Yeah, they got Kelly too. He's up there. He's 5th in ERA in the National League.
Yep. Oh no, and their team. If you look at team pitching, Arizona is not like off the cliff or anything like that. I think they're in the top 15. No, they're not. They're in the top 20. I thought their ERA was a little bit better than that.
Their hitting, though.
Their hitting's amazing, and their defense. Everybody can play, including having Guriel in left field, who has not killed them. So what?
And who they got behind the plate catching too.
I don't even want to bring that up. It just makes me sad.
Have you seen the graphic that they had? I think it was MLB Network, where it showed what the record was with him and without him in the lineup.
Insane. Oh, by the way, my wife fixed the cable last night. I'm panicked. I turned on MLB Network, and it wasn't showing. How many channels do we have on TV? 4,000? Yeah. I watched 10. One of them is MLB Network, and I turned it on. She reconfigured it because they screwed around with some money. You know how Rogers does, and you got to talk to him and do all that shit. And all of a sudden, I turn on this morning. I go to get the baseball. No MLB. I was shaking.
Damn.
You know what I mean? I get up in the morning, 2 screens go on, MLB and NFL Network. I just start my day. I don't go check the news. Let's just go to the networks. You know what I mean?
Consider getting DAZN because they have MLB Network.
What's that?
DAZN. They have MLB Network.
Oh yeah, then maybe I should just get that. But I've already paid for the for the pack because I can't beat it. Anybody out there that think if you have the zone, if you do streaming, all of that stuff's amazing. It's a little bit cheaper, but my setup says I gotta have a Rogers thing or a Bell because how do you run four? Unless I'm going to get 4 boxes, I'm going to pay $200 for it.
Yeah,
that's fair. But over time would do it. But that's the way it is there. So I can't wait to get my MLB back because I want to see what the prognosticators say. But there's a couple things that came up in baseball this week that I think that we should allude to, and I want to know what your opinion of them. The first one is, did you see Hader did not want to go into the 8th inning this week?
No.
He absolutely refused to play. The manager went out there, Bob Melvin said no, and he said, I don't pitch 8th innings, pal. And went sat down. How does that happen in baseball?
Is that just frustration where the Padres season's going, though? Do you think that plays into it?
No, I think it's because it's his contract. He's a free agent, and he wants to be known as the guy that comes out in 3. Remember when he came out in Milwaukee, he had pitched 9 out saves and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
And now all of a sudden he said, no, I'm not. And San Diego had a snowball's chance in hell of making it. They had that great run at the end. But I'm telling you right now, that guy would be out of town. I don't care if he's Cy Young. You do that on my team, you're out of town. That's insubordination on the highest level. Why didn't he pull a Billy Martin and tell the guy to go out there or take your jersey off? That's what I would have done. You know what I mean? I would have said, gone. You're gone right now. In front of the team. I would have said,
that's bad.
It's awful. And San Diego played it down because they're going to try to re-sign him because he's a top reliever. He's, 28 years old? I mean, he's in the prime of his career, some say.
Yeah.
And you're going to, I'm not playing. I'm not playing today. I don't do 8th inning.
Well,
I don't do mushrooms, and I don't do asparagus, but I do 8 innings.
If you make a scene out of it too, you risk making a scene with the players' union, right? And I think that you just want to avoid that mess.
The guy is paid to play baseball. Here's the ball. Run out to the mound. Last time I checked, it said RP. It didn't say SP. So that means when we need your sorry ass on the mound, get the hell out there and pitch. The guy said no. Okay, shouldn't talk that loud. In any event, it's crazy. I've never seen this. I've seen, like, back in the day, Billy Martin swinging at guys, Sparky Anderson cutting guys for doing shit, like managers are yelling and screaming. But this case here, I think that's the biggest case of insubordination I've ever seen in my life. I'm gone. I don't care who good you are. You know, if you're Jesus and you don't go to the mound, Jesus, you're gone. What does the rest of the team think?
I don't know.
Even though it's considered one of the worst clubhouses in baseball.
Yikes.
That's what they're saying.
No wonder they're 500.
With all those players and all those numbers, it just goes to show to me that it's not always about money. In any event, we're going to be doing some earlier shows coming up this week. We'll continue on with our baseball prognosis. But what are you saying right now? I'm calling for a Philly-Toronto World Series. I think some people telling me it's like when I want that leprechaun to come up my driveway on a unicorn. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that might happen first.
Yeah.
But I'll take my chances because I believe in leprechauns and I believe in unicorns.
I'll say Atlanta, Houston.
That's the easy pick.
I think it's the right pick.
Okay, we're going to go like that. We're going to start now, but we will be keeping you updated as the rounds go on.
I've been high on the Astros all season.
From all season. I know you said they would come down like Secretariat on the outside lane and race down and win the division, and they still may. They got a game to go. In any event, we here at the House That Happens, we are fervently, passionately, and excitedly cheering for our Toronto Blue Jays. Agreed?
100%. Go Jays.
Go Jays. No matter what we've said, done, bitched, screamed, yelled, go Jays, go. Speaking of go Jays, go, we got some interesting things happening to that monolith called football, including we're going to be getting out of here as quick as we can because the Miami-Buffalo Bill game has to be the marquee game of the week, correct?
Oh, 100%.
How do we get it on over here? I hope it's going to come on right away, right behind us. Oh, by the way,
I think it will.
We're going to get to that. How do you think of the football season going for so far?
Well, I mean, I had a bunch of notes about last week. So first of all, your Lions beating the Falcons.
One pride, baby. One pride. And that's who cares about the Falcons? Did you see what we did to the Green Bay Packers on national TV on Thursday night?
Bitch slapped them.
Stole their car, stole their weed, and banged their girlfriend. That was a good night to say that as a Detroit Lion disciple. I was excited. And I don't think now I'm Andrew, I've been saying this all year. Stomping on people's feet.
Yep.
Do you know I had a baseball cap on yesterday?
Okay.
Guess what baseball cap it was?
Detroit Lions.
I was walking into gas stations. People were shouting out to me. I couldn't believe it. The only reason I got the baseball cap straight out of the shower.
Oh, okay.
Straight out of the shower. Rake put it on. You screw it on like, those screw-ons.
Yeah.
Don't unscrew it. Boom. Hair goes. Can't get it back on. But I screwed the baseball hat on. Showed up at this party. People, what are you doing with the baseball cap on? My son got it immediately. My oldest son shouted out that. That's wicked. That's what I expected to see. However, I think this Detroit team is for real. Big shout out to the Branch kid playing the secondary. I hope he's okay. He had that little calf issue in the game. He came back in. But we play like Dan Campbell. And if you don't have a kneecap, who cares?
3-1 to start the season.
3-1. Minnesota Vikings. Big shout out to my son today. Miss you forever. I'm going to cheer for the Vikings today. But 0-3 Vikings, nowhere to be found. Chicago Bears are dumpsters.
To the frauds known as the LA Chargers. I mean,
there you go. Yeah. And not only that, the Chicago is a complete dumpster fire as far as I'm concerned. And how do you get $100,000 of equipment stolen off your?
Yeah, what was with that?
Okay, so the quarterback's saying he doesn't know about the coaching. The coaching doesn't give him any running plays when he's a run option quarterback. They have no wide receivers, and they lose $100,000 worth of equipment.
That is, I don't know, the Chicago Bears, man. Like, I just feel bad for their fans.
This is like
I know you
grounds
don't,
crew
but
shit. Oh, who gives a shit? I hope they rot in hell. But that's another story. How
But
do you
like
get
the-
$100,000 worth of this? Is grounds crew shit. Inside job, obviously.
probably.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is what they use to, like, maintain the field gear.
Yeah.
$100,000 in gear to maintain your field. Someone opens up the door and says, oh, we got something missing.
Yeah.
How does that happen? So I'm saying that Detroit's call on winning the division this year, I'm more solid about it than ever.
Yep.
What I want to really do is get to some of the frauds that are in the NFL. And one team I don't want to bring up, but they killed everybody. They killed a lot of people's survivors picks last week.
Oh,
And
yes.
they look terrible. And that's America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so they lost 28-16 in Arizona last weekend. That was just a shocking defeat.
Okay, so you would have been out of the survivors pool because
Yes, and I would
had
have picked Dallas.
Okay, no, that. We're going to go and check the tape. Mr. Milani, you told everybody if you want to
Fade the Cardinals.
fade the
Yeah.
Cardinals. How did that happen? You know what? Let's give the Cardinals a little gut check here. They have played a modicum of defense, okay?
Sure.
They puked
I should have
it
told
up.
people to fade the Bears, but
Oh, yeah, that's another one. But they, if you remember correctly, they should have beat Atlanta. Atlanta had that crazy comeback to beat them. Wasn't it Atlanta? Let me just check my schedule here. So if you
Believe
actually
so.
look at Arizona and what they have done so far, like let's see who have they played of any significance. Have they played? They played at Washington. They played them tough, but how good is Washington? We don't know, especially after that beating they took from Buffalo last
yeah.
week.
I think they're going to take a beating today to Philadelphia.
Oh, I think I took that all day long. Then they played Green Bay. They should have beat Green Bay. Green Bay had that great comeback, right? So they got away with that one. Then what do they do after puking up to Green Bay? They beat the Dallas Cowboys. So if they were supposed to be so bad, how did that happen? And what are they doing today? Who do they play again?
San Francisco.
So they will come back to earth quite easily. So that
Yes.
just tells me, do you still feel that Dallas Cowboy is one of the top 3 teams in the NFC?
Top 3?
That's the word around the campfire. Everyone's going on. Remember last year?
I would agree with that.
I'm not. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, everyone says Kansas City. Remember when they blew that game against Jacksonville last year?
Yes.
In Jacksonville, they just puked it up badly. I think that was week 5 or 6. They were looking forward. Dallas, what are they looking forward to? They're that good that they think they can just skip other teams? What about that vaunted defense? Greatest defense since the 85 Bears and the 2000
Okay,
frickin'
so
Rams.
you're splitting hairs here. Week 5 versus week 3. Like, come on.
Anything
I don't
can
think-
happen
I don't
on
know.
any given Sunday. But
Exactly.
what happened with, I will give Kansas City more break because it was drop balls and a couple of bad turnovers, and that can happen to anybody on Sunday. Arizona roughed up Dallas. They went at them hard. Don't you agree?
Sure they did.
So I no longer, when we do our power ratings, I will say no. I say I will not.
So who are your top 3 teams in the NFC then?
San Francisco is
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Philadelphia is the other one. Now we look around the league and it's all a bunch of, I don't want to say it's a bunch of, how would you put it? I don't want to say it's a bunch of stand-arounds, but I do believe that we're going to have to start giving teams credit on a more regular basis, and that includes my Detroit Lions. Because let's look at the Lions' schedule here. They beat Kansas City.
Okay.
We totally puked it up to Seattle. That was a game that
Yeah.
we gave away. We should have won, but that happens. We dominated Atlanta in our house like we're supposed to, then went into Lambeau Field and crushed a team that was supposed to be Jordan Love's coming out to the home crowd BS because it's the same old Lions. People, it's not the same old Lions. Get that straight in your head right now. One of the teams I am concerned about is I do believe that the Seattle Seahawks are a little bit better than I originally thought. I thought they would have a fallback. So the top 3 teams, in my opinion, you'd still have to put Dallas there because they're the Cowboys. But when are they going to start talking about my Detroit Lions? Are we a top 5 team in the NFC? 3-1
Oh,
record?
top 5 for sure.
Top 5. But I'm saying we're going to sniff it up
If you ask me to name who the number 5 team is, I might have a little bit of trouble, but
big time. And you know what team that also I feel sorry for? We'll see today what happens in the quarterback situation with the New Orleans Saints. Is that New Orleans Saints defense is for real. They're like something to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the season, because that's such a weak division, I can see eventually that who's going to come out of that division. Right now, I think it's going to be the Saints.
Oh, you're changing your pick.
Yeah, who did I have originally?
Atlanta.
Yes, but I'm saying now that I should stay on the Atlanta bandwagon, but I just don't think the quarterback is enough now. And what was the final score today? Jacksonville beat them,
23-7, excuse me.
Great. I got that on the spread. I got that on my tickets. As you can see, Mr. Milani, not that I gamble on Proline and make a whole bunch of picks here. But
I know that stack of paper is looking pretty thick.
Okay. Let's keep that a secret until I win. But in any event, big shout out to my Detroit Lions. I really think that Philadelphia and San Francisco are a step above every team in the league. Dallas was supposed to be there with their defense, but they got out-muscled. And you know one of the things they did that was really interesting? They ran the ball straight at Micah Parsons, ran it right down his throat. Mm-hmm. Isn't this guy supposed to be Superman, Godzilla, and Incredible Hulk all in one guy?
Oh, he's phenomenal.
They gutted him. Lawrence Taylor never got gutted till the end of his career. Okay?
I'm not comparing him to Lawrence Taylor.
Thank you very much, because I'm tired of that talk. And I think Micah Parsons is a great, great player. Don't get me wrong. One of the best young talents in the league. I think Dallas is fraudulent, and here's the number one reason why. They can't score in the red zone.
Well, they can't get a touchdown pass in the red zone.
That's what I'm saying. So when you all those games that they won like that either there was a scoop and score by the defense and 4 field goals.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a field goal's good now and again. But if you're going in the red zone and all getting field goals, you end up as a 500 team.
You need to get in the house.
So that's what I got to say. Dallas Cowboys, can I say 3 things? No, I'm not allowed to say that because I don't want to swear in air. But I want to say, because I'm sick of the Cowboys already. I'm so sick of it. They get their ass kicked and they're the number one. Everyone's talking about them right off the top.
Yeah.
Which they should be talking about is the Taylor Swift effect on the NFL.
We're back to this, eh?
I just want to say that I think that the New York Jets are another dumpster fire. So what do you say about the coach?
Got that first win of the season.
Well, that's
15-10.
Okay, well,
finally, nice to get back in the win column.
Do you think that your New England team is going to give Dallas a fight? Bill Belichick's 5-1 against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys are going to have a big kickback.
I think we're gonna get trounced.
I think you're going to have a rough time, but I think that, you know what? I think it's going to be closer. They'll close the spread because that's my opinion.
You think it's going to be like a super low scoring game?
I think that I'm going to bet the under. I'm not done gambling. I didn't get out. I got to get out by 4. But anyways, I think it's going to be under in this way. Bill Belichick is a defensive genius.
Yep.
Look he's a top 5 defense in this league right now. Who's got better? Cleveland's looking good. San Francisco's defense, Pittsburgh's defense. But my beloved Detroit Lions, who had the worst defense in the history of the first 8 games last year, have come first circle. They got some dogs on that team, man. I'm telling you. Did you see them just crush both sides of the line of scrimmage?
Oh, yeah.
That's what you call – that travels. That travels. And I only see in the NFC – that's why I like the Saints. I think it's unfortunate that Carr went down. We got to see what Winston's going to do. But the Saints have a good defense. And the reason I'm kind of hedging now is because I say we started the season – I said we should go after week 4 and make our predictions because then we get a better view of what everyone's doing. Atlanta's got good defense too, but look happened today? They couldn't score.
They can't score.
You know what I mean? And they got a running game and a weak quarterback. So I'm saying that the Saints have a little bit more offense. They got that rookie guy named, what's his name? Christian Olave, whatever his name is. Olave? That guy's a stud. And Michael Thomas is going to come around, and they got a big tight end, so they could be there. But really in the NFC...
Derek Carr's playing today?
Yeah, oh, he is?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I'm glad I took the Saints. But anyways, I'm going to say this. As of week 4, I really think that there's only 2 teams that could you name the teams to beat in the NFC, and that's Philadelphia
and San Fran. I agree.
My Detroit Lions are knocking on the door, and Dallas has a place on the mantle when you want to consider what they did the first 2 weeks.
Sure.
But if they lose today to New England... that would be amazing.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I've got them bet all over the place. And speaking of that, let's go back to the AFC, which to me is becoming the soap opera of the NFL, regardless of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, whatever's going on. The reason I'm thinking about soap operas, let's just start with the New York Jets.
Oh, my God. Where to begin?
Coaching. I think some of the coaching in the NFL this year has been atrocious. Some of the decision made. What is the Staley, coach of the Los Angeles Chargers?
Oh, he's the worst.
Do you see him go
I'm
for
shocked I've said this before. I'm shocked he has a job.
Top 5 quarterback in the NFL on your team, got a gun for an arm, knows what he's doing, and you go 4th and go on your own 24 with less than 3 minutes. And what were you thinking?
They're lucky they came out of that game with a win. They are so lucky.
Only because of the tip pass.
Yes.
The tip pass. Like Cousins had the right thing. The guy tipped the pass.
God.
I'm kind of feeling bad for Kirk Cousins. You know he's a top 3 ranked quarterback in the league as we speak.
Yep. He's like I looked in fantasy. He's like number 1 or 2 in a lot of leagues too.
Yeah, no, his numbers are great, but Minnesota's defense is horrendous. You know, they have e-fence. There's no D in their game. Let's get to that right away. So if we want to talk about the top 3 teams in the AFC, who are you giving me? Well, let's just talk about the glory of one team. I'm a hater. How could I hate? I haven't had a chance to hate these guys, but let's go back to when I was in high school, okay? Who did I hate the most? The M&Ms, Minnesota and the Miami Dolphins. I hated those guys. I'm glad I got to hate them back. I hope the Buffalo Bills sodomize them on national TV today because I'm sick of hearing about those pieces of scum. They barely beat New England with a good defense, okay? Yep. Who did they beat last week? Oh, we don't even bring that team up. That coach should be fired. Sean Payton, you're a fool now.
Oh, you're always saying he should be fired. Wow.
Oh, we can't be fired. He's too much money. But all that shit that he said before the season, and he wouldn't finish his press conference, when your mouth's that big and you say that much. And
wow, you just got embarrassed. I mean...
He talked about the coaching of the other coaches, the structure, Russell Wilson, blah, 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 blah. He gave up a 70 burger, bro. A 70 burger. That's never happened in my life.
And it wasn't even through, like, the
they
passing game. It was just bully ball.
100%. They sat Tua in the fourth quarter. It was that Mike White guy that the Jets should have kept. He fired a couple of bombs, and they could have scored 80.
Yeah. They could have gone for the record. They could have gotten a field goal to get the record, but...
I hate everything about Miami but their coach.
Yeah.
He looks like Waldo. The guy has got some weird moxie going on. I don't know how to explain it. If he walked in the room with 40 people and they say, start picking out the NFL coaches, I wonder where I'd put him. Just sounded like he'd be 38th?
Yeah.
39th? Okay, yeah. No. Put him over there. He ain't the coach. Okay, that 6'4" guy. This guy. No. Then he comes out with his freaking, well, where's Waldo look? Great scheming. Got his defense playing very, very well. But however, let's go see who Miami has played. The truth's in the pudding. That's why I say about 4 teams. Who has Miami played? And we want to.
Yep.
Let's reiterate. Here we go. Okay. Week 1, the Miami Dolphins played who? Didn't they play nobody? Actually, they
expand on who they
played the Chargers in L.A.
So
and remember, the Chargers made a few mistakes. It was a close game.
They barely got past them.
And okay, that's what happened. Then week 2, they played Miami. They played New England, and that was a tough game.
Beat them by just a touchdown.
There you go, and that was a tough game. And then, of course, week 3, they ran into that insatiably insane, God bless America team, the Denver Broncos. Come on, give me a break.
So are you jumping on my hot take that Denver are fraudulent?
100%.
Oh,
100%. Got you. The reason being is I thought their defense.
Cruz, let's go.
It's like, I was never a Denver fan ever. I'm not even a fan of those teams, that division. That was one of the divisions I never really could care about in the first place. But I will say this. When they come in with, first they got the Russell Wilson thing. They got a couple wide receivers. They beefed up their defense. I heard, can I have a big shout out to Ryan Clark? You know who Ryan Clark is? My favorite football analyst, and he's got a funny streak.
Oh, yeah.
He had his dog on the show the other day. It was just great. But he said, go look at the film, and let's go back to Pop Warner and called grab and roll. What grab and roll is? That's how you learn to tackle. He said, go look at the tackling. So, I had the game on, and I rewatched the game because they're showing it everywhere because of the great explosion of offense. Denver didn't tackle. It was so bad.
Some apathy there, perhaps?
Something's going on in it's the clubhouse. When your clubhouse is, the dressing room's a mess, everyone says it. You can't go back. And the thing is that...
I would pin that on the quarterback, I bet.
Well, he you know what?
He's a weirdo.
The best thing about Denver last week was Russell Wilson. Believe it or not, when you look at it, he did play a decent game. I mean, he nothing to write home about. But the thing about Miami is I think that this game today is going to be the ones that's going to decide. Buffalo and Miami right here. Buffalo got embarrassed week 1. What have they done the last 2 weeks?
They looked very strong.
Oh, and you don't think coming into their house that the ghost of frickin' Jim Kelly is not going to be in there, or the spirit of Jim Kelly and whatever?
Yep.
I think the fans are going to be like worth a field goal today.
Sure.
With the hype coming in, and like, are you going to be surprised if Buffalo wins?
No, I'm picking them to win, in fact.
I already did. Go Buffalo. We want you to beat Miami. So what do you think are the top 3 teams in the AFC?
That's even tougher than the NFC.
No, it isn't. It's so easy. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl again.
That's number 1, yeah.
They're going to win. And they're not even considered number 1. The number 1 team considered in the league is the Miami Dolphins, which blows my mind.
No,
oh, yeah.
I don't
either.
them.
I'm going there. But look around the rest of the division. Okay, the Bills. I think the top 3 teams.
If I had to pick 2 and 3, I would say Buffalo. Honestly, and probably Baltimore.
No, after that loss last week, they better win this week. Cincinnati got to rear their head. They came up with that big win on Monday night. They got to win today. But with Deshaun Jackson not playing, that's a gimme for Baltimore. It should be. But what's weirding me out is the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, they should not be 2 and 1.
Yes, they should.
I mean,
yes, they should.
Okay, maybe I think you're misunderstanding me. Like, not that they shouldn't be 2 and 1, but just like how this happen.
Defense. Their defense is underrated. They got a pack of dogs, kids. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what? They got a good structure. And here's the amazing thing. They got a great O-line. And what is Indianapolis missing right now?
Oh, well, they're running back.
Jonathan Taylor's not even playing
Yeah.
him, so he'd be taking minutes off the clock. My sleeper team is the Indianapolis Colts. Even though I picked Jacksonville, I still think they've righted the ship today. They will still go, and we're going to see.
You'd think, but I mean, that loss to Houston is still a huge red flag.
The other team I want to talk about, I thought Houston would be more of a team that you'd follow around on a Survivor thing. They play defense because
CJ Stroud's been sneaky impressive.
I think he's been better looking than Anthony Richardson.
Now, oh yeah.
Okay, so here's my take on this. Okay, one of my other favorite hates, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Where did C.J. Stroud go to school?
Was he a Buckeye?
He was the starting quarterback, and when Michigan got on him, Michigan was the only team that got on him. This guy looked pro-ready at Ohio State. Like, you know what I mean? I thought he might even been better than Bryce Young. Yep. I liked his size better. I liked his arm strength. And now look at it. Bryce has already got knocked around at 5'9".
Yep.
C.J. Stroud is a big boy. Big, strong boy, and he's learned from week to week. And you know what happened is, what they say is, which this is why I say coaching is so bad, Houston has implemented some of the Ohio State plays that work for C.J. Stroud. That seems to work for these young guys. Oh, Bryce Young, they took a few Alabama plays, put it in the Carolina book. Mm-hmm. What have they done for Zach Wilson and the New York Jets? Did they ever check to see where he played and maybe help the guy out? He's got 2 running backs. Their O-line's a little shaky. They got Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. They didn't run the ball 15 times.
Dalvin Cook's barely being used.
I heard he's rusty from the camp. That's the word, is he's not quite in the shape that he should be, and I think he's coming around. But shouldn't you run the ball to support your guys?
Absolutely.
And where is this all-world New York Jet defense?
I'm still looking for it.
I heard they're on the bus way into town. I don't want to really knock them, but I'm saying, to me, I'm not there at all with that. I think the best division is going to be the AFC South. I don't think, and I'm starting to the most competitive, like at the end of the year. No, I mean, when you're going to watch like who's going to win, like I'm saying, by the time we get to say American Thanksgiving, the Dolphins and Bills will separate themselves. The Chiefs will separate themselves.
Okay, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? But
I think the North is
going to be too because of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is giving up 70 points, which sounds like a lot. But when a lot of times that they spend on the field because their offense doesn't score, God.
Oh, their offense is a big issue. Matt Canada, he's another guy that I'm surprised still has his job in the NFL.
He's going to lose.
Maybe the worst offensive coordinator in the league.
Okay, so let's go back to last week really quickly, because we're not going to run long because football has started and we want to get out of here. By the way, really enjoying the show. By the way.
And by the way, I got a rant about the Sunday nighter last week, the Steelers-Raiders game. The Raiders going for the field goal at the end, like that made no sense whatsoever. You're Like you knew you weren't going to get the ball back.
So the name of this episode is going to be called Bad Coaching and Gamemanship. Because what were we talking about in the baseball? Some sketchy gamemanship, Ryder Cup, sketchy gamemanship, and now bad refereeing in the NFL. It's all over the league. Everybody, like, how did the Raiders guy get that? I like the fact that
Josh McDaniels, man, he looks like a lost soul without Bill Belichick, doesn't he?
He certainly does. And you know what's even crazier? Didn't you like Sean McVay kicking the field goal to cover the spread? I love that. I was just ecstatic.
These guys know.
Of course they know what's going on. They don't know the spread. I'm just saying this. Big shout out to my buddy Matt Stafford. My girl Mina Kimes said that she said he was the best looking quarterback first 3 weeks in the NFL, regardless of that horrible offensive line where Cincinnati just crushed him.
And Mina Kimes on mat leave, by the way. She's about to have her
Drop
baby.
a kid. Good luck, Mina. I'm still pissed it's not mine, but that's another story. Good luck to that, Mina. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you.
Her podcast, she said she's going to be on hiatus for about a month or something.
Yeah.
Or a month and a half, I think. So
good for her. And I'm glad. And oh, by the way, did I not introduce you to her?
You did.
Thank you very much. She's one of my favorites. Her, Elle Duncan, Diana Rossini.
I got one of my buddies listening to her podcast now, too.
Oh, yeah. She's cool. Yeah. But she knows her shit.
Yeah.
She says stuff I go, and you know what? If I'm going to be honest with you, Andrew, you know what I've been doing? And notice my mouth is running 90 as usual. Because I'm convalescing, I'm starting to get numbers in my eyes. When I look in the mirror, I don't see nothing anymore. I see numbers. Constantly reading numbers.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to pay off this week, but let's just take a look at what happened last week before we get out of here, before we get this week. Week 3, we all took San Francisco. We were correct. We all took Baltimore. The Indy defense fraudulently made Baltimore look fraudulent. But here's the deal. They were missing, what was it? They're missing everybody, Baltimore.
Sure.
So they made a mistake there. Tennessee at Cleveland. Took Cleveland. We were confident in that.
Yep.
Atlanta and Detroit. We took Detroit. We were confident in that.
Yep.
New Orleans at Green Bay. We took Green Bay, even though New Orleans puked that game up. Houston at Jacksonville. We all took Jacksonville. How did that happen? One of the frauds of the week, I don't get it. Denver at Miami, we took that going away. We just didn't know the beating was going to be that badly.
I was at a family gathering, and I was just showing people, check out this score. Everyone's like, what? People, not even, they don't watch football that much. They're like, how'd that happen?
The best thing I ever heard was that Ryan Clark said it reminded him of a high school basketball game where that high school team had 6 brothers and the other guys had 3 accountants, and at the end of the game the score is 100-2.
Yeah,
that's what
their best player is a 5'8" white guy or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then he said it was like that. I cracked up when I heard it, but it was true. Los Angeles at Minnesota. I took the Vikings. But did they cover? I think it was just a backdoor cover. No. The Chargers won. Remember, they shouldn't have won.
Yes.
Minnesota, bad coaching. New England at the Jets. We all took New England. That was a good score. Buffalo at Washington. We took Buffalo. That was the gimme. I took Seattle all day. Seattle's for real. I really believe they are. Now, here's where it gets dicey. How did Dallas lose to Arizona again? Jimmy, what is your AI telling us today, Jerry Jones? You see his AI thing?
Yeah, they have at the stadium. Yeah,
that means you
can
just
ask
have
questions.
You have too much money when you build something like that. We took Pittsburgh at Vegas. I think I took Vegas and Pittsburgh in the points, and they pulled it off. On Monday night, I got bitch slapped. I took the Rams. I took Philly, but I took the Rams. I'm in love with Matt Stafford. I have a boy crush on him, a man crush, whatever you call that, bromance or whatever stupid thing you want to call. I love Matt Stafford. Which brings us to today. Today, should I let you know what my 6-game parlay is for starters?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, let's take, first of all, my 16-game parlay, if I win in the bar, which is a roller, I took the Jags. The biggest mistake I made was I was going to send my picks in on Thursday night. I got nervous about Detroit being in Lambeau. Even though I picked Detroit to win the game, I did not put them on my parlay. I stood in the corner for half an hour. Immediately, okay? So my parlay this week is going to be, I got Minnesota. No, I don't got Minnesota. I got New Orleans. I got Philadelphia. I got Cincinnati. I got Dallas, Kansas City, and Seattle. That's my 16 parlay. So if that's going to do you any good, I had the first 2 weeks, I had 5 out of 6. Last week, I had Jacksonville, Dallas, and whoever, all the upsets that were in there. So that gets us to this week, Mr. Milani. Do you have a look at the games? Who do you like?
So let's get started. Pittsburgh at Houston, closing odds. Pittsburgh by 3.5 at Houston. I'm taking the Steelers.
You're taking the Steelers. Let me get my pen out here so we can have proper. Don't I have a pen? I got 3 notebooks. You know, I'm a notebook guy. I want a big shout out to my best friend, Glenn LeCouvy, who brought me, Andrew, he brought me 6 of these brand new books.
Nice.
He knows me. Okay. Any event, the first one is Pittsburgh, you're saying?
Yeah. Didn't you already write these down?
I guess. Yes, I did. Week 4. We did that before we started. Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay. Did you take Detroit on
Thursday? Yes. I was telling you the story where we were telling one of our sales reps to take Detroit.
Yes, got you there. Okay, so who did you say you started off with there?
Pittsburgh. I'll take the Steelers.
We both are taking the Steelers. What do you got next?
Rams at Indianapolis. Rams favored by 1.5 on the road. I'm taking the Rams.
I'm taking that with trepidation. If Matt Stafford was not playing for the Rams, I would not be taking them.
Minnesota at Carolina.
Gimme.
Minnesota favored by 4.5 on the road. I'm taking the Vikings. Or sorry, I took the Carolina, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And so guess what? We're betting a pint on that. And you're going to pay me 2 pints if they win by 20?
Sure.
That's what you heard it here first. That's how we work at the house. That happens. Next.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans. New Orleans favored by 4.5. Saints all day, baby.
You heard me preaching the pontification about the greatness of Saints defense. We're taking it all day. Next.
Washington at Philadelphia. Philadelphia favored by 8.5. I think Philadelphia is going to win by double digits.
They're going to gut them like you got pike. You know, when you're fishing, you got to cut it open.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to gut them. Next.
Buffalo hosting Miami. Buffalo favored by 2.5 at home. Taking the Bills.
All day, Buffalo. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the defense. They're going to knock some around. Tua, I hope he's standing at the end of the game. Great O-line on Miami, by the way, but we're taking the Bills in this house.
Cincinnati at Tennessee. I think we both took
Cincinnati.
We both took Cincinnati here?
Yes, we did.
Cincinnati favored by 2.5 on the road.
Should be an easy win.
Yep. Baltimore at Cleveland. No Deshaun Watson. Baltimore favored by 2.5 on the road. I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah. Took Baltimore too, yep.
Denver at Chicago. Two of the battle of 0-3.
Oh, come on. Just wrecked my day.
Denver favored by 2.5 on the road.
Wrecked my day.
What I take
Isn't that about football? We love football. We want it 24 hours. And if that was the only game that come up today, what would you be saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. I got to take Denver just because Russell Wilson is better than Justin Fields.
I took Denver too, right?
And I hate it. Yes, we did. Yeah. We both took Denver.
Yeah. Raiders at Chargers.
I'm only taking the Chargers because it's in LA.
Yeah, Chargers favored by 6.5 at home, taking the Chargers.
Starting to feel sorry for Josh Daniels, man. He takes a lot of the coaching. If you don't coach,
he did that to himself.
You got it. Okay, next.
Arizona will be in San Francisco today at 4:30. San Francisco favored by 2 touchdowns at home. I'm still taking the 49ers.
Can I say one thing about Arizona? Did you see their quarterback? I don't know if this was a good idea. He went to the pro shop to buy one of his own jerseys. They don't even have one.
Oof.
Now, would she have done that on Twitter? Doesn't that show up the team? Isn't that kind of weird?
That's very weird.
He put it on Twitter and everything. Like, he come in, he goes, I just wanted to buy some jerseys for my family. Oh, look, what do we got? Nothing that says Dobbs.
To be fair, he is the number 2 when...
He wasn't even in camp when the camp started, so whatever. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, continue.
Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Jets. Kansas City favored by 8 points on the road. I'm still taking the Chiefs. Easy.
Do you think Taylor Swift will have pom-poms in the suite this time? Is she going to leave the building in a popcorn machine?
Well, maybe it's a road game, so maybe she's going to be less fired up. Like not as
fake.
Yeah,
fake. Did you see her jumping around? That's where I flicked the channel. I think it's great for like all that stuff that people like, TMZ and bullshit. Do you think that she's that? Did you see how excited she was?
It's her boyfriend.
Says who? They weren't even holding hands coming in the stadium. Is it her boyfriend or is this just a good stunt?
I don't know.
I like how Kelce got in on this. Because she played the 2 shows at Arrowhead, and he sent the gift like, this is amazing. We don't even do this kind of deal. Yeah. And she says, who's this guy? Oh, is he good looking? I think my prediction is Travis Kelce will end up being in a song.
Probably. In like 2-3 years, she's going to have a song named Travis.
And how bad he was. A good football player, bad in bed. I don't know. Something silly.
Small penis. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. She's going to say something, and it's going to be just, I don't know. I really like his brother, though, and I heard that his what's his brother's name? The center for Philadelphia. Jason. I heard that his documentary is amazing. I seen him on the Pat McAfee show this week. He was off the charts. Now, can I just say something about the Pat McAfee show? It's growing on me, bro.
My mom likes Pat McAfee, believe it or not.
Mrs. Milani, you and I got to go out for a drink. How can you not like Pat McAfee?
I know people that don't.
You know why? Because it's like either you like him or you don't, because he's got that like
high
puppy
energy
dog
knocking
things off the table. But
wrestling energy, I think we've alluded to that before.
Oh, yeah, and the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Thunderdome. But the way that he presents it is so real. And he's the master of insulting somebody that doesn't sound like he's insulting them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an art.
Like
he said how badly Chicago was, and you're thinking, hey, Chicago's not that bad. He like just trashed them totally. But it did it in such an elegant way. And you know what? He's enthusiastic about the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, Mrs. Milani, we are Pat McAfee. He's really grown on me. The first couple shows I went because I think one time it was live at a note thing. And it was like a college thing, and it got all messy. But when he comes on there, and big shout out to AJ Hawk.
Do you see yesterday the kick in the field goals or whatever?
No, I got to watch it. That's
funny.
on tape. Great. I got it on tape. I'll take a look when I go home. Big shout out to his crew, including AJ Hawk, who's outstanding in asking questions. Like when pro people come on. My thing with the Pat McAfee show is what's going to happen when football's over? What do they talk about?
I think he follows a few other sports. But,
he has to.
Yeah. But we should get back to the picks.
Yeah.
So I should also mention Kansas City Jets. That's going to be the Sunday nighter. That's going to be a disappointing one, I think.
Word around the campfires are going to start flexing them out. You know how many primetime games that they're on the schedule for?
Well,
8?
Sunday night, when do they start flexing that? That's a little
Not
bit.
for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But
yeah.
I've heard already that the executives in the boardroom at the Monolith have said, no Jets.
Well, NBC as well has got to be like, come on, give us some good games, man.
Well, you saw Kansas City, New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers against frickin' Pat Mahomes on frickin' primetime Sunday night.
The moment Rodgers went down, though, I'd be on the phone with the NFL like, let's get a different game here, guys.
Well, they're already working on it.
Yeah.
So we're both taking Kansas City and Seattle and New York Jets.
Oh, yes. And then the Monday nighter, Seattle Seahawks at the New York Football Giants. Seattle favored by 2. I'm taking the Seahawks.
Sneaky good team. They stole the win from us at the Ford Field, but I think that they're for real. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So if you got any ideas and you make any money, make sure you buy us a beer. Because you weren't listening to this show, you wouldn't have won, right?
Nope.
You know that. So we're going to get out of here because football's on. But I think that it would be apropos if we could take a little time out. And as I always like to say, you know I'm a hater. Okay?
Big time.
I'm on my way to retirement. Everyone knows I'm 64 years old. I've been watching sports seriously since I was about 10 years old. Okay? I got a lot of good memories from way back, football, hockey especially. Basketball came late. But when you're talking about athletes and guys that stand the test of time, they have class, they've won big, they've been MVP, they've done everything that you could possibly want in a player. We lost one this week on a team that I hate passionately. I grew up a Detroit Tiger fan, so I had no love for the Baltimore Orioles. But it would be remiss if we didn't say rest in peace to the one and only Brooks Robinson of the Baltimore Orioles.
And we should preface your hate by saying Detroit used to be AL East.
That's right.
This was before the Central.
And you know, it was really great. Look at that division with Baltimore, Toronto, Yankees, Detroit, and the Red Sox. Killer division. Toronto looked at it.
Plus, was it Cleveland and Milwaukee were in there too?
No, they were in the other division.
No, they were East.
Wasn't there 3 divisions there still too?
Well, the Central didn't come till the 90s.
But I think Cleveland played somewhere else.
Cleveland was in the East.
Okay, then they were in that was the great division. But that's not the point. If you go back when I first started, I was a big. I remember the Miracle Mets from '69. I'm glad they beat Baltimore. In 1970, they beat my favorite catcher of all time, Johnny Bench. MVP of the series. Machine. Yes, they weren't quite the Big Red Machine, and they were on their way, but that was their first World Series appearance. Brooks Robinson was insanely good. Anyone, I'm going to say, I don't think there's been a third baseman up until this day that made some of the plays that this man had made. Not only that, he was World Series MVP. He also won the World Series in 1966 and was part of 2 Baltimore World Series champions. Mm-hmm. That's great about accolades. Hall of Fame, 16-time Gold Glove winner. But the most important thing about Brooks Robinson that I've heard, which I think is even more amazing, is Brooks Robinson, the man. I have not heard anybody say anything bad about this guy. Guys that come into Baltimore when he would welcome new young guys up until this team right now, which is a sin that the man died before he could see what his beloved Baltimore Orioles are going to do in the playoffs. But here at the House That Happens, we have massive respect for the men that sit on a pinnacle, not because of their accolades, but what they are as human beings, because I think that's really important in this world of TMZ, whatever, all the other stuff that we got to deal with from that basis. So rest in peace to Brooks Robinson, the family, and the Baltimore organization. Jim Palmer had a tear in his eye discussing Brooks Robinson. It moved me personally, and I can't tell you how much I hate Jim Palmer either. You know what I mean? God bless Brooks Robinson. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here, buddy?
I think that just about sums it up.
I really enjoyed this show a lot. I'm going to shout out to the whole Aaron Mills crew. I'm going to go home and I'm going to slide on that Minnesota shirt.
Yeah.
God bless you, Gaff. I miss you. And on that note, this is the House That Happens. My name is Cruz.
And I'm Andrew Milani.
And always remember, what do? We keep the vibe alive.
You can find The House That Happens on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Samsung, Podchaser, Boomplay, YouTube, and SoundCloud. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at The House That Happens, and follow us on Twitter at House Happens. You can also shoot us an email at thehousethathappens@gmail.com.